Also happening this morning, it is Apple's launch of the new iPhone 17. It's its first noticeable overhaul of the smartphone in about 4 years. CEO Tim Cook greeted customers. You can see that there at the flagship store in Manhattan on Fifth Avenue, clapping everybody who's been, I guess, camping out and waiting in line, which is where we also find Bloomberg Tech co-host Caroline Hyde this morning. Caroline, it's my understanding you did not camp out, and I think that was the right move. What has early reception for this new iPhone looked like?
I got here early, not that early, but really the palpable feeling of excitement was real, and the queue snaking around the building, as you see, not just in New York, but over in London, over in Beijing, in Singapore. People are excited to get in the stores and touch and feel these new products. Now, it's interesting, there's actually quite a few protesters here as well, which I will make clear, and that was more around child safety. But most people were here to congratulate finally a bit of an overhaul in the look and the feel of an iPhone 17. Now remember, it's really the pros that everyone are very excited about. The price point is about $100 more expensive than the last year, but there is much better battery, much better camera, and that's what people want to be going into. The Air, on the other hand, look, it's $100 cheaper, $999, but it is very thin, very light, and therefore doesn't offer perhaps some of the capabilities that you really want from a camera and from a battery life. But it is a new overhaul, it's a new look, and it's a competition that we're finally seeing with Samsung, which has had that very thin, sleek look for a little while already. And remember, Samsung is on its 7th round of foldable phones. So this is why, really, Apple's trying to show that it's got its mojo back when it comes to the prowess of innovation, of looks, of design. But there have been a few worries, particularly in China, about the aluminium that's back in force on the backs and the scratchability of that. So look out for some of those reports. But really, people are rushing to get in, being able to walk out with their products. I was stood next to an influencer who had 3 million followers, who gets in a van and drives around the US telling stories. And he had his moment with Tim Cook, as I had, and got his phones really signed by the CEO that for many is a bit of a legend. So we saw a lot of excitement. The key question is, can they drive up sales, particularly in China, where they saw a slump of 6% in the run-up to this quarter at the moment?
You know, I know that we've been talking about this since the introduction, but it is pretty impressive that Apple has managed to keep the price so low, you know, relative to what it was last year. With these tariffs in effect, right? Because it still makes the lion's share of these phones in China and India, both of whom have massive tariffs in place, although Tim Cook was somehow, I guess, diplomatic enough to get a carve-out from Donald Trump.
I think you're so right to point that out, Matt. And many felt they were caught between a rock and a hard place. Not only the administration doesn't want them to talk about price increases because of tariffs, but Google hadn't increased the prices of their phone. Neither had Samsung, and both of them preempted the launch of the iPhone 17. You did see that $100 increase just on the iPhone Pro particular, but more broadly, when you're looking at the watches and the AirPods and the phones, they have managed to keep pretty resilient the price point. The question is, what happens next year and the year after? But then, do we actually get real overhaul in terms of design? When you get a foldable phone, you can probably charge a pretty penny for it.